All right, here we are with the Rogue Dragon. Are you ready?
As ready as I can be, right?
I'm so happy you're here.
Well, Amaria Sweet is into Heyoka, psionics, HemiSync, bilocational etheric surgery, intuitive remote viewing, Montauk survivor. Whoa, we got to get into that. Secret space program, Mylan of experiencer, contactee, neurolinguistic programming, and the Hoffman process. Rogue, Maria, introduce yourself to our audience.
Wow, thank you so much for having me on, guys. I am very grateful for Lala. Was introduced to her a few weeks ago during another show, so it's good to see you again.
Thank you.
And very nice to meet your sweet counterpart. He's quite the gentleman. I enjoyed chatting in the pre-show, I guess the pre-game show. um, I've had a lot of interesting paranormal experiences all my life. And so just growing up, my family was very religious. A lot of them are still Mormon, active in the church. I always kind of felt misplaced, displaced. I tried to do what I could to, um, how a lot of us kids do is we want to keep our parents happy with us. And so I did eventually end up going on a Mormon mission. I served in California in the San Fernando Valley and learned Spanish there. And so, but even then, when I was a missionary, I was like, my goal wasn't to get people baptized. I just wanted to be in the streets and talk to the people, the homeless people, and work with them, and just be like, hey, why are you here? What brings you to this level of life? And trying to understand, because I always had felt like the lost one or the black sheep, or picked on in school and got in trouble a lot and was in detention quite a bit. Had a fiery little temper, and I always wondered, what's wrong with me, and I never could really understand until I really started to connect the dots with, I guess, different personalities or alters, as what a lot of us talk about, that have been through the splitting, I guess you could say, through the MyLabs. And so it brought me to kind of want to do a little bit of study and research as my kids were really young, about 2003, 2004-ish. I started to do a lot of research in meditation and started to apply, at that time, the Silva Life System, the Silva Ultramind ESP
Yeah,
system.
oh yeah, I'm into Silva.
Oh, I love Jose Silva. He was an amazing engineer for his time, just with what he figured out. And then his daughter, of course, carrying it forward, Laura Quesada Silva, amazing woman. I love what their programs have done. Really helped me to start transforming my life as a young woman with kids. And I had some turns with a lot of depression. I guess from what I've heard with other people that really get into things, I don't connect what things are in depth, I guess you could say. I'm more of a seer. And so I understand the pictures better than what it actually is. And so I would be seeing things like, what's going on in my mind? These fragments just don't make sense. And so a lot of people in the programs will talk about omega programming, which is the self-destruct programming, which it really does make sense, because I did in my life at one time. I was actually sent back and basically told, you need to come back, not only for your kids, for yourself, but for everybody, because somebody's going to need what you've been through. And then I did a second attempt, and it's like a little bit stronger, you can't be here. You've got to go back. And so the different near death or after death experiences that I've had with those, and also with health issues that I've had, I actually died when I was in the hospital. I had a really bad infection, and they decided, we'll give her morphine. So it stopped my heart. Yeah. And so having the paddles, those really hurt, by the way. Really shocking. But I remember standing by my body, just kind of looking at myself, thinking, wow, I'm really pathetic, aren't I? But having this kind of sense of compassion for myself. And so it was a little bit of a different view than I had had before with, the angels or the beings shoving me back in, like, no, you're not coming here yet. So,
Well, tell us
um,
a little bit about the. I don't want if you feel uncomfortable, let me know. But I'm very interested in what you have regained or recall of the dissociative torture you went through that turned you into whatever it is they were programming you for.
there's a few
I'm
things.
sorry, at the Montauk Project. At the
Yeah,
Montauk Project.
there's a few things I remember from Montauk itself. Especially just mostly dark hallways. I think I was so dissociated that there's things that I just didn't remember. But as I've read about things and studied more and I see pictures, it's just like, holy crap. Those things basically came back to me. I remember wide hallways with a lot of dim lighting, pipes up ahead, the smells, the screaming, kids screaming and crying, the times when there was one that I remembered especially, that there was a man that was sitting behind, I guess it's like those two-way mirrors that they have. It's almost like two different rooms, and he had a pillowcase over his head and it was duct taped around his neck, and he was duct taped to the chair. And there were people that were in military uniforms and wearing lab coats. And I just remembered the horror of thinking, why do they want me to remove this person? Just for better terms, there's certain words I'm trying not to say just because
Right,
I know.
right. Let's not get banned.
Right. And so when they're saying, take out the target, and I'm saying no, and I'm fighting it, they brought in little children they looked like they were around 3 to 5 years old, and were basically telling me that if I didn't do the deed, that the children. And I was really angry about that. And I'm just like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And there was a little boy that they did that to. And seeing his innards leaving his body was devastating to me.
I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. Well, look, look. We can move on if you feel like it.
The reason I share this is because I want it to stop happening to children. I want the government to realize that they need to stop taking our free will. I do not consent. I never consented. And I'm to the point now, I do have my personal power back. And I have had attacks. You can't stop somebody from having a psychic attack towards you or whatever they're wanting to do, but you can have the energy to be able to defend yourself. And that's what I do with people, is I help them to strip off the garbage that they've had. A lot of times there's cube tech that I see and other technologies that when I'm doing a session that I'll pull off of somebody or deactivate, and I go back, there's like a cord or a thread. A lot of people have heard about, you can follow the cord back, they say cut cord. Yeah. I like to go a little bit further, because I do have a side of me that I do walk the dark side a little bit. And some people are a little bit offended like that. And they're like, you need to get rid of the ego. I disagree. I think that we need to balance the ego, because we can't understand the light unless we understand and have walked in the dark. And so I take those cords and I go back to the source, and I'm just like, you have no right to do what you've been doing to me or this person or whoever it is that I'm working with, because I do work on myself almost daily. This isn't something that just goes away just because you want it to. You have to defend yourself, because we're basically hovering in that lower astral, that fourth astral. And I have had people come to me very angry and upset, and they don't like what I have to tell them, because I'm just like, tell me about what's going on. And then a lot of times I'll see that they have different things, walls up, or their fear is still there, and I've tried everything and nothing works. And I'm like, well, that's what's the problem, is you don't have faith in yourself, or you're afraid. And then, no, I'm not. And they get so angry. And I don't have time for that shit. I'm like, keep doing your work, whatever you're doing. But, if you're not ready, I can't help you. And but I do go back to those that are connected to that person. And I remind them, you've got the free will to do what you're doing. You have your self-determination, but you don't have the right to continue your war games. And so I take those cords and I rip them out of the person and I tie those people up. And I'm like, this is your karma now. You started this shit. That's not okay. You cannot keep doing this. And so mote it be to you. And I'll basically give them back in karmic magic, because I believe that they have a lesson to learn as well. We have a lesson to learn on, seeing that dark side. How are we going to react or respond? And then what can we do to take ourselves out of our darkness as well? Because none of us are going to be free from that. I think going through the refiner's fire helps us. And, if anybody understands it, I know that you do very deeply with the losses that you've gone through. And any of us that have had any kind of losses with loved ones that have been plucked from our lives, tragically, it's very difficult. It's very traumatizing. And being able to get through that dark night of the soul, and being able to survive it, because it literally is the survival of the fittest at this point. But we got to have some sort of support group that, if we're like, I don't know where else to go, if you just have a little bit of faith in yourself, I have enough faith to help you see that.
What are the tools you use to work with people when you first start figuring out what's going on?
I use my intuition, number one. I feel like the best thing to do is connect. And so, I've got my EMF beanie on. I love to have with me. And I actually cover my eyes. That's one thing that I was taught in the programs, is to cut off your eyes, your visual cortex, which actually closes your pineal gland. And so I decide I need to step outside of myself to bilocate to this person and remote view so that I can see them with my actual soul. And so I close off my eyes, I close off my pineal gland, and I go to that person. A lot of people that have connections, or basically they've got their intuitive senses alive and awake, they'll feel that. They're like, what's going on? I feel something. And I'm like, that's me. Don't be alarmed. And so I like to connect with the higher self, mine as well as theirs, and then any guides that are there. I'm not really into the angelic beings thing. I do like to call a lot of the beings that I do connect to like guardians, just because I'm not religious. I'm more spiritual minded. And so I try to take kind of the dogmatic view out of it, just because a lot of people aren't comfortable. But there are a lot of Christians that I work with. And so I understand that where their level is at that point, they need Jesus, and that's okay. Because sometimes you have to have faith in something so strong. If you don't have faith in yourself, have faith in something. And if the name of Jesus helps you, by all means, use it. But you got to be able to get to the point where eventually that crutch can be put down. So we've got to be able to believe in ourselves enough, because we were created in a way that we're actually stronger than the Anunnaki. Because Yeshua, he even said it in those ancient scriptures, the Bible people want to read. He said, basically, you'll do greater things than I. And it's true. Those of us now that have been waking up, that have been developing our sixth sense, or whatever these other senses are that we have, we are doing greater things. We're seeing things, we're feeling things, we're knowing things that if you don't have that switched on, you'd never know what that is. But the fact that any one of us can switch that on is amazing. And it's so phenomenal. And I believe in everybody. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give you the chance to be able to step into this and switch this on. You just got to have a little bit of faith in yourself.
Oh, yeah. So Lala has been through my labs, multiple abductions. Are your my labs mostly in dealing with your interaction with the Montauk Project, or do you also see non-human intelligences involved?
She got the same rice-shaped implants I do.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know that.
Yeah.
Neither does our audience.
So some of the my labs, I'm not exactly sure what they were. I did come to the realization recently in the past couple months of Kruger, and what they did with me there. They basically severed my body in a way that made me into two super soldiers, which was very traumatic. I do have memories all the way back from about the age of 5 with interactions with the Greys, which I dealt with finally as an adult. A lot of times I'll kind of do like a time travel type thing where I go back and I'll revisit that and be like, you can't do this anymore. And the crap that you did is null and void. So, you have to stop.
Have you had any interaction whatsoever with what I would call good Greys?
I don't know if I would call it a gray. I think it's an even. The being that I've seen, it looks kind of like a gray. I think of it as a little male. And interestingly enough, I think of him as my son. But he's got kind of a light blue skin. And his nose is kind of wrinkly, like it goes flatter, like not like the way our noses protrude out, but it's more of a flat kind of to just a little slit. Very small mouth. I don't recall any lips around that I've never really seen. And he's got big blue eyes. And he's just very loving. He seems like he's about maybe 5 feet tall. And he likes me to sing.
So we were out on our deck and we had one of them walk up on us in a waking state, and she felt it and took a picture of it. And we've shown that picture a lot of times. I'll share it with you offline so our audience isn't bored with it. But I mean, she had telepathic communications with it, and it wanted us to do soft disclosure and talk about our experiences. Nothing strange. It just wanted us to tell people that we were having the experiences, and we've been doing that anyway. We just doubled down.
That's so cool. Oh, I'd love to see pictures of that later. Thank you for sharing that.
Yep.
I'm excited.
No good deed goes unpunished. So do you have a question unasked?
Yeah. You were talking about when we talked about implants, and we both had the same, rice shapes or size. You said something about newer implants, and
Right.
can you talk
Well,
about that?
think about the nanotechnology that we have now.
Mhm.
Like we're actually being sprayed, the different chemtrails that have been going on. People that drink soda, I hate to say it, but go get, if you're going to get a soda, get a clear bottle and put a magnet on the outside of it and watch what happens.
Oh,
These
shit.
are self-replicating. It's in like Coke products, your Dr. Pepper, your Mountain Dew, your just run-of-the-mill mainstream sodas. You're going to see nanotech actually starting to stick to the magnet. And so that's how small. I mean, it's so small. They're able to put them in the injections that people have been getting. Unfortunately, those that are still getting injections. But that nanotech is self-replicating. It's so small that like the rice ones that we can palpate, you can't palpate those. You can't remove those unless you do basically like a detox, like you're doing zeolites and your the chlorella, the spirulina. You want to constantly be doing our, the nanotech basically detoxes, heavy metal detoxes, because those things are in our water system, they're in our food. It's really gross.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think it's to wear us down and keep track of us? What do you think the reasons are that all of this is put into our water, food, air, everything?
Well, just understanding what I've been in my own research, finding out, like with the 5G, with the spraying, the food, the World Economic Forum, Rockefeller fake medicine, the what is it, the World Health Organization. I mean, they've stated over and over and over, different members of those people, that they want to reduce the population. And so I'm sure that besides mind control, you get enough people that aren't in control of their minds and in their bodies, and you've got blue light all the time, which is very suggestive to the body. It also reduces or basically affects your immune system. It affects your sleep cycle so that you're not able to make serotonin. It makes you more agitated. Look at how kids are. They're more apt to the ADHD issues. Of course, the jabs that the parents are pushed into getting, which I'm really grateful that I stopped. My oldest, I had a couple of rounds until basically spirit was like, stop doing this to your child. And I just told the doctor, I don't feel good about this. And I stopped taking my kids to well child checks. And you know what? The government's not going to fight you on it. I never got fought. I
Oh.
basically signed papers at school saying I have a right to not jab my kids. And my kids have been super healthy. The only one that has had some issues is my oldest. But the other two have never had any issues. Like they don't have ADD problems. They're very sharp. They've had less depression than my older one. And then, of course, the garbage that's in the food, you know, you look at processed foods, it's got so many fake ingredients.
Right.
And so I really do truly believe that it's a part of MK Naomi, which is part of the mind control, the MK Ultra programs, but it's about controlling the food source and getting us to where we're closer to being basically cyborgs.
I believe it. I do. Can you? Well, one of the reasons I think you're awesome, there's many, but one is that you are a scientist, right? You create
Kind of at-home scientist, but yeah.
You know, can you talk about red light and what was that? It was a organite tray you were making.
Oh, right. And I have them downstairs. I've been still putting some stuff. My internet's been screwy, so I came upstairs. But Ganzanite is what I work with. Plasma GANs is basically you can make it with, I made like a little copper coil that I nano coated with like a blowtorch flame. It kind of makes it look rainbow colored, and then it looks like it's black and dull. And then there's a zinc plate that I put in the water, and then I connected those with a battery. And then basically just that low electrical field in a saline solution, it causes like this interesting floaty stuff to happen. And the Keshe Institute, Kashe, I have to find the website again because it looks like they've kind of been buried in the internet, unfortunately, in the past couple of years. He found that there's an electrical charge to it. And if you contain GANs and pressurize it, you can actually make an unlimited source of electricity. So you can actually make a generator out of it. It also helps with just the body, your electromagnetic fields. And so it helps with the just the garbage that we're subjected to with the electricity, the 5G. So it helps to kind of balance and calm the system. And so what I did is I made a little ring out of the oxygen tubing that's clear, because he suggested to put it in clear tubing. And then I used shungite. I also used Wilhelm Reich's. I'm going to just say O, just because a lot of times you'll get shut down just for using the ORGONITE word. But basically, Ganzanite is adopting the O. And so I'm combining, which Wilhelm Reich said that you have to have tourmaline and you have to have selenite as two of the stones that you have to have, and metal shavings, or like I use BBs. And so the metal BBs, I also use magnets. From what I remember as a medbed technician in the programs, is the med beds use a multiplicity of these energies because everything is frequency and light based. And so the light colors, near and far infrared. I'm using the bubble tech that Bill Tysing actually invented. And I still have to build my bubble tech. Genesite crystal is another one that he figured out. Some other things. It's kind of long and drawn out, but there's some videos that you can find that are actually really cool that explain it. And then shungite is another one that I like to use just because of the way that the shungite helps to absorb and dispel the energies.
Yeah.
The plate that I'm making, I'm also using radionics coils, and some of them are the what do you call it, the holy cubit, or like sacred cubit. I'm like trying to think of what the word is, the sacred cubit. Some of them are shorter, just depending on what I've got in there. I've got double terminated quartz crystals that I've wrapped in guitar string just because it's already wound. So I figured might as well use what's wound. And then I've put them on magnets. I've got 5 magnets, including a big microwave magnet on the plate that I'm doing. It's just taking a lot of time, so it's actually been very expensive to make these.
Yeah.
But the energy that I'm starting to feel from these charging plates are phenomenal. And so I'm really excited to see how that's going to be with my proto med bed that basically I'm making. I still haven't purchased the far infrared mat. It's going to be one of the crystal mats, but I got the near infrared red light finally.
Good.
So little by little, I'm getting it put together. And then Bill and I actually talked about, instead of doing the Dunisa crystal around the bed, which is basically a massage table, what I'm going to do is make like a frame with a door that we can open that'll just have concentric rings. And then maybe I'll just do a small Dunisa crystal that we can hang up inside of it that's made out of GANs. But inside of the concentric rings, what we'll have is wires inside of them that will be electrically charged, because it'll be in PEX tubing, and then also crystals. And so like some of them will have what is the ones like your sungite, tourmaline, selenite. What's that?
Quartz?
Yes, quartz. And so we'll have them alternating, just different ones, different crystals in each one of those tubes as well. Just so we have the crystal energy, we have the electromagnetic energy, near and far infrared, radionics, plasma GANs, and then of course the light, the near and far infrared. And so
Kurt is very, very happy. He put a rare earth magnet on his vodka and it's safe. And Midwest Night Washers thinks MRI and CAT scans heal us.
You know, it's interesting. When I started to have memories coming back from my experiences in the my labs, I actually had a CAT scan. I guess it was the MRI. And that's when I started having the weird dreams. And I'm like, what is going on? And I've heard that actually, that the MRIs will help activate your memories. And so I kind of want to save up just to go get another MRI. See what else.
Well, I mean, that is an extremely intense magnetic field. It ought to do something to the nanites.
Oh yeah, let's just cut them nanites up a little bit, right?
I have a question real quick. I have a lot of reoccurring scary dreams. It's a visitation dream, you know.
Right.
Do you have a reoccurring, or did you used to have a reoccurring dream where they're kind of harassing or stalking you? A psychic dream, I guess you should say.
Different ones, yeah. There was some that was like I was going in a tornado and then being sucked down a tunnel. And then when I saw the TV show Stargate, I was like, oh my God, they're portals.
Portal, yeah.
Holy cow. There was also this creature that used to chase me when I was a kid. And my sister and I both had talked about it when we were younger. Because when we lived in Kansas, we had this house that actually was owned before us by an old judge. And so it was kind of creepy. There was like an old bar that was made from one of the actual, I guess like it was from an old courthouse. And behind the fireplace where there was a portal there. And my sister and I hated that downstairs. Like anytime we were down there, we were always like, keep the light on. And so we would just turn the light. We just wanted the lights on everywhere. And my dad would get so mad, like, you're wasting electricity. We're like, don't turn the lights on, please don't. And I could hear them, like whenever they turn a light out, they would be running down the hallway. And we would just be terrified and crying. And they were like, turn on the light. And so we'd have the light in the closet on. So at least we have some light. And I was just always terrified of these things. Or we'd go upstairs and we'd like turn off the light and run upstairs really fast because we're like, it's chasing us. And I'm like, you felt that too? She's like, I always did. And one of my memories, I believe it was in Montauk, that as a child, I was with several other kids and we were being chased by this thing. And from what I remembered, it kind of looked like one of the creatures that was in the TV show Stranger Things. I'm not sure what the name of them were. I saw the first part of the first season and I tried to watch the first series of the second season and I threw up. I cannot, no.
Well, I was going to say maybe Matthew Modine triggered you in the first season.
It was so bad.
That was like Montauk on steroids.
It was crazy because this thing was coming after us. And then all of a sudden I remembered this woman that showed up, and she was like a soldier, and she was screaming at it, and she's like, "Are you guys okay?" And checking on us, and then she chased after this thing and like killed it and like ate it somehow. I was like, "What the?" We were like terrified, like, "Holy cow, she's powerful!" And the crazy thing is about 3 years ago, instead of being the little girl, I came back in that memory as the adult. It was me. And I remembered seeing this thing and I was like, "Get away from the children." And I went to the kids and when I saw myself, I'm like, "Oh my God." Oh, and I didn't want myself as a child to know it was me, but I'm just like, "Are you guys okay? You're safe, just be right here. I'm going to be back." And I went after the thing and yeah, I killed it and I ate it. And I'm just like, "What the crap?" And so I know that we've been in these different time travel programs.
Right.
I've
Yeah.
even found, like with Arkeem Ra, I was on his show. I showed them some pictures that I had found online about 3 years ago, just of myself, of other people that I know. I'm like, "Holy cow, this is from World War I and World War II." And one of them was from the 1700s of myself as a Collins family. And I still haven't been able to find her name. Spitting image of when I was in my 20s.
Oh, wow.
It's so
Wow.
crazy. So, I mean, just I've had some really interesting paranormal experiences like that where I seem to just run into things and find things and be able to research things really well. And then just remembering, with what I did in the programs, being able to put together a lot of this technology that we're trying to figure out to just, even if anything, just dispel the crap around us and raise our frequency so we can heal our bodies.
Right.
One of our viewers, Brian Minnick, says Montauk is Strange is a detailed history and documentation of Montauk.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that I finally have started to do some research on as I've healed different aspects of that. It takes me back whenever I actually start reading or listening to the explanations. I'm like, "Oh my God, I remember that. Holy cow."
Yeah, I saw the Montauk documentary which is now available on YouTube, and I had very little idea about it until then. But since then, I've noticed several things, and now I'm meeting you. But you're the second person in the last month that had Montauk experiences.
Oh yeah. Preston Nichols is one of those people that none of us liked. He was evil, vile, a very foul person. And so in a way, I'm grateful for some of the stuff he was talking about. And I'll give him enough forgiveness to allow that disclosure. But I'm hoping I never have to meet him again.
Right. Yeah, I wondered. I wondered about his role as I was looking. I just, I'm I don't ever take anyone that's in or around those things at face value until I have solid evidence to uphold one belief or another. Constantly questioning. That's me.
Yes, I think that that's true. And, Penny Bradley is someone that I very much respect and love her so much for what she's gone through. I actually agree with her, a statement that she made a few days ago on a show where she said, a lot of people that are, being told that they've been in my labs or things. And there's times when I tell people, yeah, you've been in, and there's been quite a few people that have felt directed to come to me. You need to be really searching for about 3 years and studying and figuring out what's real, what are screen memories and everything else. Because a lot of these people are wanting to jump into the system and just get on shows. And I'm like, it's muddying the water. They don't have enough memories. And it's like, just step back, work on your healing first. Because a lot of this stuff's going to hit the fan inside of yourself. And it's very traumatizing. So, step back. There's a lot of online support groups that are really great with the SSP. Ask questions, connect the dots, figure out for yourself, and take that 2 to 3 year period to really start to clear what really happened with you. Because I've been figuring this out since about 2016, and I'm just now starting to clarify things this past year. So, it takes time. It really takes time.
Well, plus I feel obviously they want to confuse us, make us forget, make us sound crazy.
Make us argue.
My question is, why do you think they pick certain people to go through MyLab's SSP?
What is the selection
Is it a
criteria?
bloodline? I know I asked you this before. What's your opinion? Is it bloodline, or is it characteristics, or?
There's a lot of characteristics from just lining up the dots and seeing what other people have come with their conclusions, and I agree. There's Merovingian bloodline, which is one of them. A lot of the royal bloodlines, whether it's Rothschild, Rockefeller, Collins, I mean, the list goes on. There's like, what, 13 of those bloodlines, and then there's another 13 of the Cathar bloodlines. And so it has to do with, what are your abilities? Have you manifested those abilities? And then were they able to exploit those abilities? Because that's one of the things that they did with us. Out of hundreds and thousands of poor, unfortunate children that have been taken out of their homes, and many, many, many thousands of them have never returned. The ones that were lucky, and I consider myself one of those, we were the ones that expressed those abilities. And the rest of them were discarded because either they went catatonic and were no longer able to function, and so were put into incinerators, or were taken out, whether they were that or if they were used as target practice. Because unfortunately, with those fractures and those altars that were created, a lot of that happened. Just like if you think of like the hunt games that a lot of the elites have done when they've taken these children out and they basically run them down like animals. And it's terrible to think that this kind of thing has been going on in humanity for hundreds of thousands of years. It's very evil. And we are in a new age. We are in this time of reckoning, or if people want to say ascension or resurrection or whatever it is. We're raising our frequency at such a rate that even I'm sure the Anunnaki are amazed, like, what, we created these little slaves, but they're progressing and they're healing and they're doing things that, like they said, we were told we would do greater things, and I think that we're definitely doing that.
I agree.
Well, I wonder if they fear in some way. Like, for example, let's take the Anunnaki. So they are ancient old, and maybe their rise to enlightenment, etc., and their power took tens of thousands of years. What do you do with a race that goes halfway there in 200 years?
Right?
That's a rate of evolution that would be frightening to the others.
We've definitely made leaps and bounds. I think they have, on one side, because I think that there's two types of Anunnaki. I mean, Anunnaki is basically any one of us. We're all related to the Anunnaki. They're basically our family. They've been our sky gods. These beings that have watched over us. The 36,000 or 3,600 year procession, I think is what it is, with Nibiru basically coming in and out of the orbit that it does. I'm sure that coming from the slaves to the beings that we're becoming, they're probably testing us. Are these people really ready to come out of this dark age that we've truly been in and join everybody else in this galactic community? I think that there are many of us that are ready. I think that there's many of us that are waking up to that possibility. There's some that aren't, and maybe they'll never be, and that's okay. I'm sure that their higher selves and their guides will have a place that they'll be able to reincarnate to help them, so that then their next cycle that they can have that opportunity.
Right.
And so I think it's just what we can do is like that 100th monkey effect. Just keep talking, keep sharing, keep connecting the dots, and keep encouraging each other. Just like, hey, I've been through crap too. And there's going to be times I'm not perfect. There's times when I could be a little shit, and I get, agitated with people and impatient, and I'm just like, oh, I don't have time for this. I got a life to live, and I have a full-time job, and I'm trying to be a mom, and I'm trying to pay my bills, and then I have to go, okay, I need to breathe. I need to step aside. I have to meditate daily because I'm not perfect. I definitely have my issues that I'm still working through. And layer by layer, I just keep on. That's why, I keep reading this book, The Hoffman Process.
Ah, yeah.
that's
Well,
what
tell us about that. Right after you answer one question,
Mhm.
what 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 would be the reason, in your opinion, that someone would have an Anunnaki as their top guardian? What would that mean? What could that mean?
Well, how much are you related to them could be a possibility. What is his name? Michael Lee. I think it's Michael Lee. I'm trying to think his last name. He's Iroquois gentleman, very connected to the star families, and has the Inky energy, which is basically a title he's talked about. I know that he has a lot of interactions with them. A lot of the indigenous peoples have had a lot of interactions with them, as well as the Pleiadians, which my own interactions with the Pleiadians, I haven't seen these pale-skinned, white-haired people that a lot of people talk about as being Pleiadians. When I've had those interactions, they've been space Germans. The ones that I've actually seen that have said that they were Pleiadian, and it's because of their energy field that I can tell that they are. They're usually kind of a caramel skinned person with darker hair, or they have green or brown eyes, and they're really not like bright skinned or haired. They just look like normal people, but the frequency that they have is very loving, very healing. I actually didn't believe in the Arcturians for a long time until recently. I had some interactions because of someone that I did a session on that was from, I think, Denmark. She has ties to those beings. And it was amazing. The skin was so indigo, it was so blue. I was like, what? I was so taken back, like, wait, what? You guys are real? I thought the Arcturians were just some horseshit, thing, because there's a lot of channelers out there that are basically channeling the B2K. They're not getting correct information. So I really try not to channel. I just try to, go with what I see and what I feel and decipher that. But I was just blown away, like, oh God, you guys are real. And then the Leopards that came were really beautiful beings, very golden. These ones had like a lion face that I had seen, but they were protecting this young lady because she is very, very high ranking in ancient times in Lemuria. She was a high priestess. And I was just like, holy crap. So sometimes the interactions that we have when we do these sessions are mind blowing, and others it's just kind of a general session, like, okay, cool, we balanced your energy. How do you feel now? And then I just kind of follow up, like, what's your diet looking like? Let's get you on a parasite cleanse so that you can feel better and just clarify, your body and your third eye.
Okay, tell us about what has enamored you with the Hoffman process.
hold on, real quick.
Go ahead.
Question somebody asked is, I don't have my glasses.
Who are the gods or creators of the Anunnaki? And then let's jump into the Hoffman process.
Sorry.
The creators of the Anunnaki, is that what you were saying? From the way that I understand it, and Billy Carson actually explains it really well. Basically, the sky gods, or those gods, like Inky, Enlil, there was Thoth, that basically was writing the emerald tablets. He talked about the halls of Amente, which are these caverns that are just vast, that go throughout Egypt, they go into Samaria. I think they even go into Jerusalem, but they're all over the place, and they had healing chambers inside of them. And so with that medbed technology that they were using, I'm sure that that's partially why they were able to live for thousands of years. The ormus that they take from the gold that they make the ormus powder, just even their genetics. I mean, I know that we've been changed. I think it's like 1 and 2 is the chromosome that's been fused together, and then the telomeres have been capped on it to basically shorten our lifespan. And so it would be interesting to find out. Yahweh is one of those. But I think that each one of those is connected to the gods that people have been praying to. Like Christians seem to go towards Yahweh, or like, I guess, Jehovah, or Jesus, which actually means Hail Zeus in Greek, is Yahweh. But Yeshua isn't Yahweh, I guess, if that makes sense. They're two separate beings. And so they're actually praying to something else when they think that they're calling on Jesus. Yeshua was his name. And then like Allah, or Eloha, which is the singular version of Elohim, which it's just another title that they use. Trying to remember, like Krishna, trying to remember if that was one of the ones as well. That was one of those Anunnaki. But a lot of it was just these people that lived a very long time with a lot of abilities that they were able to express, a lot of technology. We humans tend to worship stuff like that, unfortunately. And so I think that as we've deified them and their egos kind of got away from them, is where kind of that darkness has kind of drowned out a lot of that. And just from my own learnings, gnosis, coming through near-death experiences, and just piecing things together and understanding that we have to atone for ourselves. We have to go through that shadow work. Nobody's going to come and save us and do it for us. And that's part of the crutch that religion has created for people, thinking, oh yeah, Jesus will take my, I just go confess to my bishop, everything will be okay, I can be good today, pay my tithing, and that's not how it works.
Right.
We have to take an honest look at ourselves and be able to balance that light and dark, because that's going to be able to be what sets the stage for our ascension and rebirth, because it's stair stepping and climbing up. What did I learn from this last challenge? What can I take away from that? And what compassion can I learn? And how can I be able to become a better person through this, instead of, God, I hate my life. This fucking sucks. Everything happens to me. Why does this always happen? It's, what can we do to stop being a victim and a crybaby? Really, truly.
Yes, absolutely. I agree.
All right, let's do Hoffman.
All right. Hoffman is really cool, because it basically helps you to take those baby steps. It's one thing I really love about it. Through the first parts of the book, it talks about basically getting down to that childhood level within yourself, and what can you do to look at other people around you that maybe you've taken offense to, or they've hurt you in some way. Maybe they were abusive. Preston Nichols, for instance. I could totally hate him right now, but I don't hate him anymore. I don't want to meet him ever again, but I don't have that disdain and disgust that I felt when I first realized who he was and remembered what he did. I can look at the videos now and be like, wow, I wonder what happened to him that was so traumatic that turned him into that.
Right.
That sucks. And then I can walk in his moccasins just for a minute and understand he was tortured soul. Anybody that turns into that much darkness is a tortured soul. And I know that even I have had those altars where I've been extremely dark. I've had people tell me they remember that I was this horrible commander and I was a total bitch and I was unfeeling and heartless and cruel. And you know what? I feel that. I understand that. And I've asked for forgiveness from that. And those people that come to me with that, I'm just like, I am so sorry. Please forgive me. Because at that point, did I realize what I was doing? Maybe. Was I enjoying it? Maybe. I don't know. Was I totally destroyed, and had I given up to where that's all I knew and all I thought that I was ever going to be? So I was just like, all right, fuck it. Let's just do this.
Right.
Maybe. I don't know. But the fact that affected that person in that way and they came to me, I want to make it right any way that I can. And so that's part of it. It's going through our emotional side and our rational side. What can we figure out? What do you do whenever you get upset? Like for me, I become withdrawn. I get quiet. Sometimes I get angry and I get kind of nitpicky and a little bitchy and I start overreacting. And there's been times when I would just lose my shit and cry like a baby and be dramatic and make a scene. So the Hoffman process helps us to figure out what are those patterns that we have? How can we break those down? And when you write it down and recognize it, like, okay, yeah, I can be a shithead. That hurts, but I can do that. We're actually acknowledging our faults, and that's okay. That's actually really healthy to do. I know I still have things when I get withdrawn. I still have days when I feel like shit and I feel like I'm a little down and depressed today. My energy's low vibe. Okay, what are my tools? And so I have to pick myself up. Nobody else is going to do that for me. And so that's
true.
one of the things that the Hoffman process really helps you to do is to inventory where is it that you get triggered and how, and then from there, how can you pick that up and fix it for yourself?
I think that is the best way to go through life, because denial is lots and lots of people's friends for most of their life, and it causes health issues, family issues, friends. So I think everyone should get that book and at least look into it, or look online if you don't want to get the book. I think it's very important as a healing process.
Absolutely.
Did you
And
want
You're good.
I'm trying to think who was the one, what was her name? She did the Louise Hay, I think that's what her name was, where she was talking about how different areas of your body will stick. And so like illnesses or pain, maybe you get cancer. I had adrenocorticocarcinoma. I also had a subdural meningioma when I was in my early 30s. And a lot of it, I was like, what really caused that? Well, Addison's disease, which I had, I don't think I really struggle with it anymore. I still think sometimes I get tired and whatever. And I think, okay, did I get enough sleep last night? Have I eaten healthy? Have I drank enough water? Have I taken my minerals? So I kind of take an inventory. Okay, what's going on? Am I getting a psychic attack? Maybe, kind of that self, what would you call it? The psychic, what's that?
little checklist?
Little psychic self-assessment.
Yeah.
Self-assessment, hygiene, any of those things. Yeah. So we want to kind of go through our hygienic process, because I don't think any of us is going to be free from it, but it's kind of taking the inventory and unpacking those things so that we can say, okay, like what would have given me adrenocorticocarcinoma? Well, I was stressed all the time. I was always feeling sorry for myself. I was always so anxious that I was triggered by everything. I was very agoraphobic. I hated to go out of the house and literally afraid of my own shadow. And so being able to strip little things off one at a time, the book Turning Terrible to Terrific was one of the first ones that I read. It's by Dennis Cummins, Dr. Dennis Cummins. Amazing book. It's not very thick. I mean, it's probably about half the thickness of the Hoffman process, but it took me 18 months to read because I was determined to get through all those damn activities.
Right.
So just writing everything down, like one of the activities is finding 100 things you're grateful for. It's hard. It's so hard because at first you're like, okay, I've got my health, I got my vision, I can walk. And then by the time you're like, hey, I got shoes, I got a bed, I got a house. Okay. It's like little things like, okay, I got healthy fingernails, I got eyelashes. I mean, literally you're like nitpicking everything, but it's so awesome because getting to the point of being able to be ultra grateful for every little thing, you start to feel it. It starts to make a difference.
I agree. I do. After I lost my family, before I lost my family, I was I was such a pain in the ass. I was just didn't appreciate much, always depressed, just over dumb shit. And when I lost my family, it something in me just snapped, and I was different. And I mean, I say hello to the trees now. I mean, it's just I'm different. I'm very grateful about stuff. I still am going through things, but I guess that's the one thing. When you lose so much, you become humble about other little tiny things you never paid attention to, and it makes me happier. I'm not as depressed because I can appreciate so much more. And I do. I'm like, well, I do. There's certain things that, with health reasons, because of stress, I either lost or I'm suffering with, and so the things that I still have going good with my body, I'm grateful for. And it's little stupid things I wouldn't have never thought of in my 20s or 30s. You know what I mean? So I get that. We gotta get
It's
that book.
amazing just how
Yeah,
we grow.
I get it.
Right. Yeah. I just need a kick in the ass. Like,
Oh, I needed multiple kicks in the ass. Sometimes I still think I need a couple of kicks in the tail because
I'll take a break with ass kickings. I'm good for a while. I'm good.
all right.
Did somebody ask a question?
No, they're just making comments. Well,
Oh.
Kurt wants to talk about Rudyard Kipling's poem "If," and it should be taken to heart. So go out and read Rudyard Kipling.
Oh, nice. I'll have to write that down.
So we have just a couple more minutes left, but I would, after this, I'd like, if you wanted to, I'd like for you to come back if we could schedule that, because there's so much more to talk about with you.
We did not get anywhere near where we needed to get.
I would love to have you back.
Too much stuff to cover.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that life?
Yeah, but that's all right. We have time. We can do one of these shows any night we feel like it.
So for the last few minutes, can you either, do you want to promote something or just share something very important with everybody?
Sure. I've got a community that I've been putting together. Heart Mind Expressions Rescue, Rehab, and Wellness Center. Right now, it's still virtual. We don't have a physical building. I'm hoping in the next few months to a couple of years or so that we'll be able to get an actual building out here. I live in Salt Lake City, Utah, and so I absolutely love the mountains. Beautiful place out here. But the people that are in my community are actually dispersed throughout the country. Cheryl Lee Arbogast, she's my registered nurse. And so anytime that I have any kind of questions with people like, okay, let's do a detox or whatever, I'm always referring back to her research. She's been working with frontline doctors, just figuring out the jab, the main one that's been unaliving people, and how to actually detox them. And so there is a way to help reduce that damage if it wasn't fatal to you. Unfortunately, I've lost a couple of family members that took the shot, which was devastating. There's been a lot of people that have lost that, and my heart goes out to everybody that has lost someone. My sweetheart took 2 of the shots. Luckily, he didn't lose his life, but it did cause some neurological damage he's been working on. I've had regular jabs, just childhood jabs that I've been working on with that damage. Also just heavy metals. So her detox program is really great for not just that, but for any of those toxins. And so I'd love to share that. That's on the website, which I can share with you guys. You guys can post that. And then I just got a brand new girl, Leslie. What is her last name? She's our board certified nutrition therapist. And so anybody that is wanting to, maybe they want to lose weight, they want to gain muscle, whatever they're wanting to do, I'm referring them to her because she's got programs that she can help you on to be able to get your physical health back in order. I'm NLP certified. And so I work with people just kind of with the psychic side of it or the intuitive side of it, mixing it with the NLP, the Hoffman process to kind of help people with that area. Now, if there's a little bit deeper psychological issues, Dr. Alex Bloom is my psychologist. He's amazing. He's got a 5D university that I'd say anybody check out. Phenomenal program.
Wow.
Susan Long is one of my Holy Fire Reiki therapists. She also does the Gillespie approach. Amazing woman. She also does the kind of the psionic distance healing sessions. My other Reiki practitioner, her name's Kira Emery. She's here locally. She's really amazing. And she's also a Wicca practitioner. She's a white witch. She loves to work with a lot of frequencies and crystals. And so I really love her energy. Very, very kind and compassionate lady. And then a couple other people, Alex Spielman and Sue McClure, kind of our little life coaches. They like to kind of help encourage people and everything. So they're kind of up and coming. They've been some close friends of mine that have been on my webcast when I was doing it regularly. And I wanted to include them because they have such big hearts. And Sue is amazing. She's actually blind and deaf. And just what she's gone through in her life, she's really inspirational. Alex he just knows his stuff on politics, on just, you want to know the history of the world, the history of countries or anything. I love it. He's just got a wealth of knowledge. And so we've been building up the community. It's free to join. Anybody can join it. There's, you could visit each one of the pages for each one of the practitioners and ask any questions. And then, of course, just have conversations with people that are on there. And so
be sure and give stuff to Lala in your interaction that I can add to the show notes so people can find them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you everyone for coming. It was a great conversation. We're just beginning this conversation because it's clear Amaria has a lot to share and we want to bring her back and go deeper into this conversation. Yeah. Thank you all for coming. It's really, really appreciated. And we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Likewise. Thank you much.